Welcome along to a brand new episode of Aviation Analysis, the channel that investigates some of the strangest aircraft mysteries in aerial mechanics, as well as examining the specifics, history, and aftermath of each case in detail. In this episode, we will study the tragic case of Adam Air Flight 574, also known as KI-574 or DHI-574, a scheduled domestic passenger flight operated by Adam Air, a privately owned Indonesian airline, which crashed into the Makassar Strait near Polewali in Sulawesi on Monday the 1st of January 2007. Despite a large-scale search and rescue mission being authorised and no bodies ever being found, it was eventually declared that all 102 people had perished, making it the deadliest aviation disaster involving a Boeing 737-400. How could such a tragic accident have occurred? What were the findings after a thorough investigation was conducted? And who was held accountable? Join us as we aim to investigate the heartbreaking case of Adam Air Flight 574. Before we delve into the horrible incident itself, as well as the subsequent search and investigations that followed, we must first understand the history and details of the airline, plane, and flight path to fully analyse what occurred that day. The aircraft itself was a Boeing 737-4Q8, serial number 24070 and line number 1665, with a registration number of PKKKW. Its first ever flight took place on the 11th of January 1989. Indonesian airline Adam Air obtained the aircraft from the International Lease Finance Corporation on December 1st, 2005, having previously been loaned to multiple airlines including Dan Air, British Airways, GB Airways, National Jet Italia, Wells Fargo Bank Northwest, WFBN, Air One, and JAT Airways. The Boeing was fitted with two CFM56-3C1 engines and had racked up a total of 45,371 hours over 26,725 flights before the incident, and was considered airworthy by the Indonesian Transport Ministry on the 25th of December 2005. The plane was scheduled to go through another check by the end of January 2007, something that was not considered a major priority as the Surabaya airport duty manager reported no technical issues before departure. Those in charge of the aircraft were Captain Referee Agustian Widodo, a 47-year-old pilot from Sidoarjo, Indonesia, and First Officer Yoga Susanto, 36, from Magelang. Both men had joined the airline in 2006 and had accumulated more than 17,000 hours of flying time between them. So, how could a privately owned aeroplane with an approved safety report and experienced pilots suddenly crash into the middle of the Borneo and Sulawesi Islands? Let us now look at the sequence of events that occurred that fateful day. Those who boarded the plane that day consisted of 91 adults, 7 children, and 4 infants, all of whom would perish. The flight took off from Surabaya, the capital city of East Java province, at 12:55 p.m. local time, and was destined to arrive in the city of Manado, a coastal resort in the province of North Sulawesi, which is located between the Java Sea and Makassar Strait, and over Sulawesi's mountains jungle. The first problem occurred when conditions worsened shortly after takeoff. Flight 574 had been pre-warned of a storm, which was developing over the Makassar Strait. The Indonesian Bureau of Meteorology and Geophysics reported that cloud cover was up to 30,000 feet, with a wind speed of 35 miles per hour. However, this warning was downplayed as the plane was set to reach an altitude of 35,000 feet, therefore flying above the oncoming storm. Unfortunately, the conditions would turn ever more dangerous as the plane made its way towards the Makassar Strait. The pilots were informed by air traffic control at Makassar that wind speeds had accelerated to more than 80 miles per hour. Staff on the ground had indicated that the winds were picking up speed and coming in from the right-hand side of the plane's flight path. A miscommunication occurred at this point, as those piloting the aircraft believed they were coming in from the left. Clarity on wind speeds, weather conditions, and other key safety factors are paramount when it comes to all flights, especially those containing passengers. Sadly, the direction of the wind would never be known, as at 1:53 p.m, just 8 minutes into its journey, Flight 574 suddenly disappeared. There was no distress signal or radio transmission to air traffic control teams by the pilot before it vanished. Only a record of its last known position, which was 35,000 feet above the west coast of Sulawesi, between the towns of Mamuju and Parepare. As mentioned earlier, this area is made up of mountains and thick cloud. With this in mind, ATCs immediately raised the alarm and began to believe that the worst had happened. With panic setting in, search and rescue teams were dispatched to the last known coordinates of Flight 574. However, due to the extreme worsening conditions, it took them much longer than expected to reach the area. The following morning, January the 2nd, the Indonesian Air Force declared that it located a plane as well as a group of 12 survivors who were sheltering in a nearby village in the Sulawesi mountains. This news was greeted with despair, as after more than 100 rescuers were sent to the scene, no survivors or plane wreckage was confirmed to be found. When confronted on their previous announcement, the Air Force conceded that their claim was completely incorrect, that they had based their findings on false rumours and reports from local villagers. This shocking, unprofessional handling of the situation led to an agonising display of heartache at Manado's airport, where family members had gathered in the hope of receiving good news. Desperate loved ones were seen crying, screaming, and attempting to comfort each other as the conflicting reports came through. One woman collapsed due to the stress of the ordeal. In total, a massive rescue mission was conducted, which was made up of approximately 3,600 men, 4 aeroplanes, 6 helicopters, 12 ships, and 2 mini-submarines. The sonar-equipped planes and boats conducted an aerial search of the Makassar Strait, whilst those on foot explored the misty jungles of the Sulawesi mountains. Days went by with no sign of anything or anyone, until Monday the 8th of January, when 3 metallic objects were picked up on sonar by the Indonesian ship KRI Fatila. First Admiral Gatot Subianto of the Indonesian Navy specified their whereabouts as being within the western coast of Sulawesi and between 1.9 to 3.7 miles apart. The next day, United States Navy Oceanographic Survey ship Mary Sears surveyed the area to ascertain and confirm that the metal objects were indeed wreckage. They were supported by a Canadian jet fighter's aerial mapping technology. On 15th of January, through the use of the US sonar systems, the location of multiple pieces were found, including, most disturbingly, a headrest with pieces of human hair and scalp. These remains were collected and immediately passed to authorities for DNA testing. The search and rescue mission had now dramatically increased in difficulty, as, due to the location of the remains, this meant the wreckage was spread as far as 400 square miles. As one can imagine, the press had taken the story and ran multiple reports on the potential cause of the plane's downing, with several experts discussing the mechanics and geography specialists speculating on the location of the wreckage and remains. Arguments ranged from the belief that Flight 574 had broken up in mid-air after a possible explosion occurred, to simple mechanical failures brought on by the hazardous weather conditions. In the meantime, the 12 Indonesian Navy ships continued to search the region, with metal detection and specialized underwater cameras being provided by the United States. Finally, a breakthrough would come on the 21st of January, when the flight data recorder, FDR, and cockpit voice recorder, also known as the Black Box, were found approximately 42 nautical miles off the coast of West Sulawesi by the Mary Sears vessel, which had previously been provided by the United States. The flight data recorder had dropped to a depth of 2,000 meters, whilst the cockpit voice recorder was located at a depth of 1,900 meters below the water and 0.87 miles apart. Indonesian vessel Fatahila and the Mary Sears worked together to map out the area of the crash and locate additional information and vital clues as to what happened to the flight. After numerous coordinated mapping and passes, they determined that all of the remaining debris had been located. 3 days later, Indonesian marine officials stated that the black box had a battery life of just 30 days and would subsequently be unable to emit locator signals. On 3rd of February, the Indonesian naval vessel KRI Tanjung Dal Pele provided the families of those who had boarded and were now presumed dead a chance to visit the site of the crash. A memorial service was held upon arrival, where flowers were thrown into the sea. With regards to calls for compensation and accountability, on behalf of the airline, Adam Aditya Suhuman, the founder of Adam Air, publicly denied that his airline safety standards were at fault, but was willing to atone for the deaths of the family's loved ones. His offer, 500 million rupiah, £28,000 per family. This small number was another crushing blow to those who had lost beloved members of their family and attempted to sue the airline for 1 trillion rupiah, £50 million. Not only was the airline's reputation damaged by such a low offer for compensation, Adam Air was thoroughly investigated by independent bodies and found to have broken aviation regulations pertaining to the downing of Flight 574. It was reported that the airline had severely cut back on their maintenance costs, as well as ordering their pilots to fly in extreme weather conditions with faulty aircrafts that were not fit for purpose. The investigation also revealed that many of the pilots employed by Adam Air had made several complaints about their working conditions and of the missing aircraft itself. It is procedure for pilots to make a record of any complaints they may have after every flight. These are known as write-ups. In the 3 months leading up to the vanishing of Flight 574, investigations reported that pilots had submitted 48 write-ups concerning the plane's vertical speed indicator and 30 write-ups concerning the left-to-right inertial reference system. Many more write-ups were produced regarding the cockpit lights, jamming flaps, and weather radars. In February 2007, another Adam Air flight, 737, crash-landed in Surabaya, causing the fuselage of Flight 172 to crack along the wingspan. Just 1 month later, a Garuda Airlines 737 missed the runway at Yogyakarta Airport on Java and exploded, killing 21 people. These terrifying and tragic incidents, combined with the fact that no local airlines were meeting the safety standards, forced Indonesian air authorities to change their rules, regulations, and approach to aviation. Adam Air was warned that their license would be revoked within 3 months unless they were able to successfully improve and enhance their safety regulations. On the 16th of April, the American Federal Aviation Administration published their response to an airline survey and subsequently demoted Indonesia's air safety oversight category from a 1 to a 2 due to reported serious concerns regarding safety. This resulted in the United States Embassy in Jakarta warning all American citizens who had planned to fly from or to Indonesia to ensure that they refrained from booking with local Indonesian airlines and instead use international carriers who had a higher rating of safety attributed to them. On the 28th of June, it was reported that Adam Air would avoid severe punishment and would remain open for business. They were also, surprisingly, promoted by a single rank in safety rating scales to the middle tier of the aviation industry. This improvement rating would not last long, however, as on the 18th of March 2008, after another incident occurred in the city of Batam, the Indonesian province of Riau Islands, the airline's Air Operator Certificate, AOC, was deferred by government pending further investigations. 3 months later, their certificate was completely quashed, resulting in Adam Air filing for bankruptcy and closing its doors, much to the delight of the families, albeit a small consolation. The final report, released on March 25, 2008, concluded that the cause of the crash was due to the pilots losing control of the aircraft after they became distracted by the inertial navigation system. Whilst attempting to fix a technical issue on the system, it was stipulated that the autopilot function had accidentally been disengaged. Combined with the weather conditions and other safety issues, the plane ultimately crashed. Not a single body has ever been found. And so we come to the end of another episode, folks. We hope that it has shed a better light on one of the saddest aviation incidents in modern history. We live in a world where technology is king. Our phones, tablets, and technological infrastructure can detect, monitor, and locate the smallest of details across various landscapes and oceans, as well as the expanse of space. Though it is considered the safest form of travel, the fact that aeroplanes can easily malfunction in the blink of an eye and inevitably result in the deaths of innocent people trying to get from A to B is both heartbreaking and terrifying in equal measure. We may have come a long way with regards to artificial intelligence, technological science, and aviation standards. However, Flight incidents such as Flight 574 are a reminder that nothing is certain in life. The fact that no bodies have ever been found brings no closure to the families of those who were lost, nor does it bring an end to the mysteries that remain as to what exactly happened that day in January 2007. Take care out there, folks, and look out for our next video coming soon.